Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. One of the first videos I've decided to do on this channel is to look into Civilization 7. It is a fantastic game series, to make that clear, because I've not played Civ 7 yet. I played Civ 5, played Civ 6, I amassed a ton of hours in the game and I'm very much into it, and I do see it as being, a big part of the channel in the coming months because of it, dropping on consoles and PC in February 11th, so what I thought would be best to do here is I want to look through, on Civ 7, look through the leaders, look through their abilities and share that sort of discovery with you. I'll be honest, I've not really done too much in kind of watching gameplay or being like on top of the releases or anything like that. I've been very sort of primarily just trying to stay away from things and try and keep the sort of surprise and freshness there so that when I do go into the game there's not too much spoil. But saying that, I don't think looking at the leaders is going to spoil anything. It lets me kind of know what leaders are going to be available, what bonuses they've got. Obviously, I don't know. My main thing is not seeing how other creators are going to sort of exploit those leaders and what combinations work best. So if you're looking for like really cracked gameplay tips for when the game comes out, that might come later, but for right now, you're better off going to somebody else for that. What we're just doing is having a very basic look at kind of what's on offer. So, if we move on over here to the leaders page, basically, it's kind of got all the leaders already here. Obviously, more coming soon still, and we're basically just going to take a look through them. So, I mean, one by one, we're hoping to get through all these leaders in this video. Okay, so again, looking into Amina, the first thing that we're kind of seeing here is her leader attributes. Economic, militaristic. So we're knowing that, more so kind of, I guess if you're facing her in the AI, she's going to be focused on making money and amassing a big army. Probably going to be one of those leaders that you want to stay away from the beginning, or try and befriend nice and early so that she doesn't, throw any surprise wars on you. But other than that, I don't really know quite what that sort of alludes to. Alright, so the next little bit that we've got here is her map start bias, basically, which is plains and deserts, which will lead into something that we're going to go on to in a second. That being the leader agenda, so Desert of the Warrior Queen. So basically with her map start bias, she likes people who don't want to settle in her preferred locations, and she doesn't like people who like to settle in those locations. So if you happen to be a leader, obviously, that prefers those deserts and plains, then you're probably going to have a few issues with Amina, and she's probably going to denounce you straight away and look to throw a surprise war on you. Again, next we have leader bonuses here. I'm going to be honest, I don't quite understand what this means yet. Like I say, I haven't been really too into the gameplay. +1 resource capacity in cities. As with anything in the old Civ games, I just imagine it kind of gives you that, maybe an extra citizen slot, maybe an extra, whatever that resource might be, food, culture, however that sort of all sort of calculates itself in the cities, because I know there's a lot more that you can do within your base city now to improve the sort of capital. I know that kind of is how it works, at least from my understanding anyway. And also, following on from that, you get +1 gold per age for each resource assigned to the city. So, again, following on from the previous one, not quite knowing and understanding what that quite means at the moment. More gold. Fantastic. You can't go wrong with that. A lot of my games that I do tend to play on Civ 6 revolve around sort of getting those harbour and commercial hub, adjacencies and trying to, farm that gold. So, when you're playing on the higher difficulties, you can just start buying your improvements to your different districts. And here we go, this is what I think is the big one, the 5+ combat strength for all units in plains and deserts. Assuming you play as Amina, you're going to be starting within plains and deserts, and I'm, assuming you're going to be next to someone as well that, is also in that sort of preferred location. So having that, +5 combat strength, if you wanted to go the militaristic route here, would be beneficial to you. But also, as well, if you're on the flip side of that and you're facing Amina, it's something to be really aware of. If you get caught in an early war, that 5+ combat strength will, to put it lightly, it will decimate you. Okay, so the next leader on the list is a Shoker. So let's have a quick gander into him. Okay, if we're looking here, the leader attributes of I can't even say the name, a Shoker are expansionist and diplomatic. But also, I have also scanned forward here in the video, and I am aware that there is also World Conqueror Shoker, which is militaristic and diplomatic. So I'm again, not too aware of kind of what's going on here. Obviously in Civ 6 there were leaders that had two different variations of them, so I'm assuming that this is what is the case here, and you've got two different variations of this leader, a Shoker, and one that's more militaristic based and one that's more sort of peace based. Okay, we're looking here at Ashoka's agenda without sorrow, and basically he likes leaders with happy empires and dislikes leaders with unhappy empires. So basically, what I would assume that sort of means is if you are playing as a militaristic civ and the happiness of your cities is really down and you're trying to invade people and things like that, then he's not going to like you basically. But if you're focusing on things like science and culture, amenities, if that's still included in the game, then I think obviously he would favour you in that situation. And this is for the World Renouncer version of Ashoka. If we're looking at the World Conqueror version, his agenda is without regret. So likes leaders with expansive empires and dislikes leaders with small empires. So again, it's kind of the flip side of that. If you are militaristic, expanding your empire, and I'm assuming based on having a certain multiple of cities, then I'm sure he would like you. And if you're kind of staying into your small empire, just building up, having a really sort of tight game, then he wouldn't like you, and he's probably going to attack you. So looking at the Renouncer's leader bonus, you're getting 1+ food in the cities for every 5 excess happiness. So it really does seem like this first version of Ashoka, the Renouncer, is very much based on kind of having your city happy, making sure you've got tons of amenities, tons of luxuries, and making sure they're really happy. And the bonus that you get from that is plus food, so grow and expand that city a lot quicker. Further to the World Renouncer Ashoka, you also get 10+ food in all settlements during a celebration. Gonna be honest, I'm not sure exactly what that celebration means. Is that like, when you do your arts and fairs projects, or is this a completely new dynamic of the game that's being introduced? All buildings gain 1+ happiness adjacency for all improvements as well, which is good. So again, it's all based on improving your food stocks through having your happiness good. So they both feed into each other really. The main thing I'm assuming with World Renouncer, and it might kind of show itself later on, is that you just basically don't want to get into war. You want to keep your city happy. You want to build up your infrastructure, try and keep the people around you happy as well, and get all the bonuses from that. And now, looking on the flip side of that with the World Conqueror, you're getting 1+ production for every 5 excess happiness in cities. So it's still based on happiness, but you're getting that extra production instead, which can which really lends itself to sort of creating units and things like that. What I'm really interested to see, I guess, is how this plays with going to war, building up your army and attacking. Would that, you get in Civ 6, you get war weariness, things like that affects, your Civ and basically make it very difficult to, keep your cities happy. You kind of have to go overboard on amenities and things like that, and make sure that your policy cards are playing into that, removing war weariness and things like that. So I'd be really interested to see how that plays out in this game, if they change that dynamic at all, because it seems, it would seem very hard when you're playing World Conqueror to go for an army, and try and get this bonus production and try and keep everybody happy. But maybe it's just for the early game, before you've got into any war. Build up your army first, use the +1 production, and then go to war. And here we go, the next part, 10+ combat strength against districts for all units during a celebration. So again, it's the same as the Renouncer, just instead of getting food bonuses, you're getting combat strength bonuses as well. And declaring a formal war grants a celebration. So there you go, we've got a little bit more insight into what a celebration is there. Maybe it's something unique to this Civ itself. But it seems that those can feed into each other. Obviously, you go to war, you trigger a celebration, and then during that initial celebration, not knowing how many turns that lasts, you get that 10+ combat strength bonus. So, if you set up your city, if you set up your army, I should say, around a city, and then you declare a formal war, you can immediately tap that city with your +5 combat strength, which, seems like it could be very overpowered, but you just got to obviously play that well, play that right. Next on the list is Augustus, and I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the civs that I'm looking at as maybe being my first civ to try. Really like Trajan in Civ 6, so hoping that this one's a really good one. Okay, so interestingly, with Augustus, he's a cultural and expansionist. So I don't. He's not militaristic, which is what I would have assumed he would have been. But I guess expansionist. What's the difference between expansionist and militaristic? You know, either way, you're trying to expand your empire, aren't you? But maybe there's other ways with culture, with like things like loyalty in the past game, if that's coming back in Civ 7 again. But it does seem interesting that it's more culture-based as well, sort of playing into the idea of the Colosseums, things like that, providing amenities and culture and amphitheatres, things like that. It makes sense. And here we go. Here's Augustus's leader agenda, the Restitutor Orbis. He likes leaders with many cities in their empires, dislikes leaders with many towns. So that's an interesting point, because it has something I've heard about, and heard about how, you know, you can have cities and you can have towns, and I think settlers settle towns, not cities. Again, you know, I'm not going to try and play it off here like I know everything about the game already. Like I say, I've been kind of keeping a low profile and learning things about it, but it'd be interesting to see kind of how that plays out, like what leads a Civ to, you know, make towns versus cities, and how that plays out. Maybe it's a conquering thing, so maybe you can only take cities from other players, you can't actually found your own cities. Or maybe it's dependent on ages, like you've got one city per age. Again, I'm not sure how that works. Maybe I'm way off the mark here, but... Okay, next up we've got Augustus's leader bonus here. 2+ production in the capital for every town, and can purchase culture buildings in towns. Second part of that, I'm not sure what that quite means. I'm assuming, so like he can buy amphitheatres, maybe even theatre squares, things like that, if they're the exact same as they have been. Maybe that lends itself to like entertainment complexes, things like that, and however that will work in Civ 7. But interestingly enough as well, that, you know, he gets a 2+ production for every capital, in the capital for every town, but he doesn't like civs that have too many towns. He's a cities man. So yeah, I'm not quite sure how that works out. The reality is I need to understand kind of the differences between cities and towns, which, you know, a little bit sneak preview here. I will be doing a kind of gameplay review soon, and kind of looking through the gameplay and seeing kind of how it looks before release. And the next leader bonus here is he gets 50% plus gold, which I've not even, you know, looked at what that is, towards purchasing buildings in towns. 50%, so, let me try and understand that. So I'm assuming that just means that he gets buildings in towns at half price, really, which could be, yeah, I can see that being really, really useful. Yeah, major. So I'm assuming if you're playing as Augustus, then you really want to be kind of focusing on your economy, getting loads of money, and then that can kind of just boost you right up. You're not surely waiting turns to build things that you can just purchase with gold straight away at a huge discount, and just get you ahead of the AI basically as quick as anybody knows who plays, you know, deity difficulty, immortal difficulty. You know, it's always that sort of early game to mid game that you're always running a little bit behind, and it only ends to be like the end game there where you start to sort of catch up to the AI civs. And so kind of being able to use this to be able to just kind of, you know, spearhead your charge. If, you know, you can kind of take the early culture knock if you focus everything on economy from the get-go, and then you can start to build up your culture really quickly then with the economy that you've built. But again, everything with all these things is, I've gone through a few leaders already, if they attack you and surprise war against you because you're just focusing on gold, then you're done for. Right, I'm quite surprised. That's all we've got for Augustus, really. It doesn't seem like there's a lot really about him. He's got some cool features, but very minimal, to be honest. Yeah, very minimal, to be honest. So I'm not too sure on Augustus. Right, next up we've got another, looking like one of my more favourable ones, Benjamin Franklin. We love a bit of Benjamin Franklin. We love an American Civ. Alright, first off the bat here with Benjamin Franklin, we're looking like we're getting diplomatic and scientific. So our first scientific civ that we're really seeing here, which is interesting, obviously. Him being, you know, from America, one of the founding fathers, and, you know, obviously the technological advancements that the US has been kind of, you know, charging, completely makes sense why it's a scientific civ. Next up, we have the leader agenda of Ben Franklin, which is civic virtue. Strengthens relationships quickly with leaders who share a government, and weakens quickly with those who do not. So I'm already seeing here, you know, it happens on Civ 6 games, you know, if you're playing, you know, and you go for a democracy sort of government, and a lot of the more sort of militaristic, you know, civs are obviously going more the fascism route. So I can just see that be obviously your civs that are really kind of wanting to focus on, you know, culture, diplomacy, economics, things like that, will likely to be in the same sort of governments as you here, and those that are focusing more towards war and militaristic and expansionism are probably going to be the civs that you want to avoid as Ben Franklin. Cool, so we've got the first leader bonus here for Ben Franklin. 1+ science per age on production buildings in cities. So it's nice. I like these sorts of things, you know, in Civ 6, like ones that sort of double up on each other. So, you know, having 1+ production in holy sites, it kind of incentivizes you to get those holy sites out early because you get an extra bonus from them as well. So it's nice to know here you can focus on production and still build your sites at the same time and focus on that part of the Civ. But you also get 50% plus production towards constructing production buildings, if I can get my words out. So there you go, another reason to do production buildings in cities if you're getting a 50% plus boost on them as well. Okay, here we go, something new here, another leader bonus. You get 1+ science per age from active endeavours he started or supported, and can have 2 endeavours of the same time active at the same time. So again, this is not something I've really kind of like looked into or understood really, the endeavours part of things. So I'm going to be completely honest, I don't really have a clue what's going on here. I'm guessing it's just kind of like, you know, agreements with different civilizations on things that you're going to do with each other. So you can see already there in the sort of the screen capture that I've got up is, you know, research collaboration, send aid, local festival, reconciliation, you know, and then I'm guessing there's a few like there's positives and negatives and endeavors that you can do. So I mean, yeah, that seems interesting. Very interested to learn more about that. I'm assuming you use your you know, diplomatic influence points to trigger these endeavors. Okay, next up on the list here we have Catherine the Great. Okay, very interesting here from Catherine. We're getting a cultural and scientific civ. I love these ones where you can play culture and science off of each other, really. Very much kind of stay away from war, you know, and just look at just building up those things, getting through the culture tree as quick as you can, getting through the scientific tree as, you know, as quick as you can. And moving on here, we have the leader agenda. So she dislikes leaders with many great works and like leaders with few. I'm assuming that's because she wants to hold all the great works and doesn't want other people having them. So again, very culture based, and if you're going for a civ with a similar, you know, culture-based victory there, then she's probably going to dislike you. So from the civs that we've already seen, Augustus there, you know, very culture-based civ. If you're, you know, getting great works in, you know, like relics and things like that, you know, she's gonna dislike you. So here we go, an actual start map bias as well, or map start bias, if I can get my words right. We haven't had this since we looked at the first leader, Amina, but she's got a map start bias of the tundra, which is very interesting. I don't normally like a tundra civ, I'm going to be honest. There doesn't seem to be a lot of resources about, but if the civs, and I'm sure we'll find this out as we look further in here, you can, you know, use policy wildcards or, you know, leader abilities to improve those tundra tiles, where you can get production based on tundra tiles or adjacency bonuses for your districts based on tundra tiles, things like that. Okay, we're moving on to leader bonuses for Catherine now, and 2+ culture per age on displayed great works. So that seems insane. I'm assuming there you can see that they've got 2 great works, or I'm wondering, so if I have like 4 great works of writing, am I getting 4 loads of 2+ culture? You know, I'm assuming that's how that works. And also buildings with great work slots gain 1 additional slot as well, so just giving you more room to boost that culture per age as well. So yeah, looking really good. That if it stacks the way that I've kind of described it, that's looking really good, but I'd be interested to know more about that. And just as I was saying, here we go, another leader bonus based on the tundra, you know, start bias that Catherine's got here. Cities settled in tundra gain science equal to 25% of their culture per turn. So that's really good. That kind of tells me, you know, that you want to focus on your culture nice and early, and then use this leader bonus then to, you know, get additional science based off your culture. So culture should be your number 1 priority, but then your science will be getting boosted up as well by the amount of culture that you've got. So, and you still want to be doing stuff to actively go after science, but you really want to be putting majority of your resources in culture. And now we move on to the final civ that I'm going to discuss in this video, and we're going to begin to look into Charlamagne. Okay, so Charlamagne, we're getting really into our scientific civs here. We've had a few now, but this one's interesting because it's a militaristic and scientific civ, which also is really great. I loved playing this Japan in Civ 6 that, you know, had that same sort of, you know, had a lot of stuff that boosted towards their science, but then also had the samurais as well that helped their military, and had the military, I think it was coast bonus that they had as well, which is really cool. Okay, this is voiceover Daddiano because the recording failed, but we are at map start bias here with the rivers. So another map start bias here. I'm not sure how rivers would really work. I always like settling near them, get a commercial hub, get some commercial hub bonuses, and, you know, you can always follow the river to the coastline as well, you know. A quick geography lesson there for you all on, yeah, how to find the beach. Next up we have the leader agenda, the Golden Shepherd. He likes the leader who has triggered the most celebrations, so interestingly enough, I think this would work really well with one of the other civs. I think it's a Shoker. A lot of part of their civ is to, you know, trigger celebrations to gain extra food, or if you're going for the alternate personality, persona, I should say, then you get bonus, you know, combat strength and things like that. So I'd imagine these two civs actually play off each other quite well, and you could, you know, create some really interesting bonuses here with each of them. And finally, the leader bonus, military and science building. So receive a happiness adjacency for quarters. So I find this quite interesting, really, because of how military and happiness work together. I mentioned it previously in the video with war weariness and how that can affect your civilization. So it'll be really interesting to see how the happiness adjacency works for the quarters there, because as you're building militaristic encampments and things like that, it will improve the happiness, even though stuff like going to war, you know, obviously brings that down. You could sort of counteract that, you know, build all these encampments, build all these quarters, which will then boost that back up. So hopefully a good way to sort of mitigate that. And yeah, with that, we're going to go back to the actual video. And here we go, the other leader bonus for Charlamagne, 2+3 cavalry units. Once unlocked, when entering a celebration, so as soon as you get a celebration triggered, you get 2 free cavalry units, +5 combat strength for cavalry units used during a celebration. So just imagine yourself playing Civ 6 and just getting 2 free cavalry units straight off the bat, and I'm assuming, you know, you can time that celebration, hopefully, you know, in a good point of the game where 2 cavalry units would be mental. There's many a game where, you know, going to war with somebody and they've got a lot of units, a lot of archers roaming around, and just getting the cavalry on those guys straight away just wipes them off the map. So can see that being very, very good. So I'm coming at you later in the day here in the recording to quickly summarise kind of my thoughts on everything that we've just discussed. I think, you know, after having looked through the leaders, originally I was kind of eyeing up Augustus as one to kind of play as on my first playthrough, but if I'm being absolutely honest right now, I'm kind of eyeing up Catherine. You know, the idea of playing, you know, the culture and the science together and having each affect each other, I think is really cool. I think, though, on the whole scale of things, I think I'm excited to kind of play as all the leaders that I've kind of discussed. There's not one leader that I've really thought, oh, well, that's a bit, you know, naff. You know, if we're looking at Augustus, probably the weakest leader, I think. But then saying that, some really good economic bonuses. I think that's the pure economic civ, really. So yeah, I'm really interested to hear you guys, you know, kind of which leaders you're excited to play, you know, in the comments below. So please leave me some feedback. Fantastic. So unfortunately that's all we got time for to look into in today's quick video here, just kind of having a brief look into the first couple of leaders. We've had a look at 6 in total. They seem interesting. We've had a good mix of, you know, scientific, cultural, militaristic, diplomatic, things like that. So really interesting to kind of look at it, and really interesting to start to get an understanding of the game and how the dynamics are going to work. Again, from somebody who's not really kind of, you know, stayed glued to kind of what's been going on and what's been getting released, and, you know, and wanting to experience the game as fresh as possible. So yeah, if you'd like to see a part 2 of this, of me kind of going into the rest of the leaders, then please do drop a like on this video and let me know in the comments below. I'm going to be releasing more Civ 7 content. I'm looking to do a gameplay, you know, review soon, and looking at the gameplay mechanics and starting to learn about that coming up towards the release date. I do plan on getting the early access as well, so keep your eyes peeled around that date for some series, some gameplay, and different things that we can do there. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to approach that in terms of video making. Maybe it'll be streams, maybe it'll be videos, but we'll see. And if you're excited for the new Civ 7, also drop a like on this video as well. Let me know you're excited to see some Civ 7 gameplay on the channel, because I'm really looking forward to this. It's a fresh new game. I'm sure I can strike while the iron's hot, and, you know, get a little bit of a community built here around Civ 7, and hopefully just enjoy some time together, enjoy some streams, play some streams together with you guys, things like that. But we'll get all into that into the future. Just right now, I want to thank you for watching the video. Hope you subscribe, hope you stick around, and hopefully see you in the next one.